Alrighty, looks like I'm live. Okay. No one on here as yet. We'll see if anyone jumps on. Doo-doo. Anybody out there? No. Well, a bit late today. I'll just get started. I'm late today. I was undecided whether I was doing a live today. I actually forgot about it. I didn't do one last week. And then today, the weekend has just gone so fast that I woke up this morning, didn't even think about it yesterday. Woke up this morning and I was like, oh, it's Monday. That's right. I was thinking about doing a live. And so by the time I got organised and everything, it's like now half an hour after my usual time. So I might end up with nobody on there. We'll see. One person on there. Hi. just getting started. So I thought today I'm going to do a bit of an update on what's happening with my weight loss and a few other things. So put my glasses on so I can see my notes. All right. So last week, as I said, I was going to do a live last week, and then I cancelled because I was going to go and have another insulin test. And then I changed my mind. I changed my mind because I had fasted too long. So I had eaten, I think, at lunchtime, and then by the time I went in the morning, it would have been, I don't know, longer than you're supposed to be, longer than I usually do. And I try to keep everything consistent with my blood tests. And so I decided not to go, but then that was kind of last minute. And then I cancelled my live last week. And I've decided not to go back and have another blood test just now because what I've kind of realized is that it is just a snapshot in time. I'm actually better off to use the money that I'll use on the blood tests to actually go and buy more ketone strips, because our ketones give us an indication of what's happening with our insulin in real time. So when we're measuring ketones, if our ketones are high, then our insulin is low, and vice versa. And so I've been really focusing on monitoring those ketones and my blood glucose to see what's actually happening, because for me it's been a little bit confusing why the weight has been so slow to come off and sometimes impossible to get off, and why my blood glucose is all over the place. So this has been an ongoing thing. So all right. So that's why I haven't had another insulin test. Now, what's happening with my weight? My first goal was to get below 90 kilos, because for 3 years I've been trying to get down below there, and I'll get to a point over the last probably 2 years, it just goes up and down, up and down, up and down by about 3 or 4 kilos, and it's really starting to bug me. Even though my body recomposition is still happening, I've still been getting smaller in size. My clothing's been getting smaller. Things are still getting looser. That weight needs to move on the scales, because I'm still at least probably 20 kilos overweight. So that's my first goal, is to get to below 90 kilos. Last week I got down to 90.2, and then it's been up and down since then. So what I did was I did a 3-day fast, and it didn't come down after the fast, but it came down like 2 days later. And my blood glucose and my ketones, I've discovered, are really good after fasting. I haven't done any longer fasting for quite a while. And so because I'm really monitoring them, I have found I can see what's actually happening through my fast, and then after, in the days after. And so I did a 3-day fast, not last week, the week before, and I did a 2-day fast last week. So basically it was supposed to be 48 hours, but ended up being 46 or 47. So the monitoring of the ketones is really helpful to kind of work out what's going on. I've got the occasional person jumping in, out on here. It's kind of messing with me a little bit, because normally I get quite a few people on if I announce when my live's going to be now, but I didn't do it. So I've got the occasional person like this. I've got one person on there. Hi. That jumping in and out and seeing what I'm doing. So, all right, if you've got any comments or questions, pop them in the chat and I'll get to those when I can. I'm just getting back to my notes here. So, yeah, so as I said, my weight loss has been just up, down, up, down. And so when I started this, I started at the beginning of September, 1st of September, and I'm down 3.5 kilos. So that's okay. You know, it's not to be sneezed at. 3.5 kilos is 6, 7, probably 8 pounds or so since the beginning of September. So that's okay. I'd like it to be faster, of course. But yeah, just the fact that it's going up and down. Now, at the beginning of September, what I was doing is I switched my eating to the mornings, and I was eating when I first got up in the morning and then eating lunch before 2. And that first week I dropped 2 kilos, which was really super fast. And then it's just been kind of dribs and drabs since. But I have, somebody's popped a comment in here. Oh, hi, Angel. Hi there, Angel. Doesn't seem to matter. When I come on, you're here. Thanks for watching. So where was I up to? So yeah, at the beginning of September, I switched to kind of a lower fat version of carnivore, not low fat, but lower, just not adding any extra fat, just eating the fat that was coming with the meat and eggs and stuff. And I was putting my timer on after I ate and making sure that I did some exercise as well. It's just some squats or something, about a half an hour after I ate. And so my weight was moving a bit, but then it felt to me like it had stopped. And so then I got messed up again, as it happens. I get really kind of frustrated and I think, oh, it's not working. And so then I ended up switching things around and basically getting back to doing my usual, which was OMAD, and my weight really hasn't been moving. So from today, I'm back to eating in the mornings, because the reason I shifted was because I was thinking I need to toss up whether it's better to eat earlier in the day and have that bit of stress if my gut is playing up when I'm working, or eat later in the day. And I thought maybe I might be better to eat later in the day, but I don't think so now. And my gut has been so good now for about 2 weeks. Just amazing. And I'm going to talk about that and what I'm doing that's kind of made that change from being okay sometimes and sometimes kind of not, to just being amazing a little bit later in this. So down about 3.5 kilos since the beginning of September. Now, I did try doing another egg fast. So when things seemed like they'd slowed down and stopped working, I thought, oh, I'll do an egg fast, because the last time I did an egg fast, I dropped a heap of weight in 3 days, about 3 kilos, I think, from memory, or 2.5 kilos. And I thought that'll get me down under 90. I did the egg fast and didn't work. I didn't drop any weight. By the time I'd finished the 3 days, nothing had changed. It went down and went back up again. And I was just like, what the hell? What's that about? And so I don't know. I had cheese with it this time. So maybe it was the cheese. The first time I did it, I didn't have any cheese. So it could have been the cheese. I don't know. Or maybe it's just because I'd been eating the lower fat version of carnivore that it just didn't work. It's got me beat, but I'm going to have to try it again to see whether it makes a change sometime. So I was quite disappointed in that, because, you know, the egg fasts work so well for a lot of people. And they're obviously not a fast because you're eating eggs and butter, and some people eat cheese, but it's a fasting mimicking diet, basically, and really seems to get you into ketosis. And it may have been just that I wasn't in very good wasn't in ketosis probably when I started, maybe, the way that I was eating. So just the way that my body is. I think the first time I did it, I'd been eating a high-fat carnivore diet, and then I went into the egg fast, and it just worked brilliantly. So, all right, so what else have I got on my notes here? All right, so I've got on my notes here that when I did the 3-day egg fast, I dropped about 600 grams in a couple of days after that. But yeah, I don't know. So still didn't get under. I think that was when I got down to, no, it wasn't, because it was when I did the 3-day fast. not last week, but the week before, that I got down to 90.2. So I don't know. But anyway, I thought I might just actually, while I'm online, I might take my blood glucose and my ketones now, because I was thinking about doing it before the video. So I thought I might do that now. I ate breakfast about 2.5 hours ago. Oops, just dropped my little jabby thing. And so I had steak and chicken wings, a little bit of cheese. And so that's, I've decided I'm changing things up again so that I'm eating my main meal first thing. And then later in the day, if I can, before 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll just have a smaller meal, some eggs or something. And if necessary, it like depends on my work schedule and what's going on. If I end up having to eat later, then it's only a small meal, some eggs and some butter, something like that, which my body doesn't seem to raise my blood glucose up too much, having just eggs. Or I can just fast, just depending on how I feel. So I'll see how that goes, because I really think eating earlier in the day and eating outside. So our weather has been crap since the 1st of September, the beginning of spring. Our weather here has been shite. It really has. We had not a bad winter with lots of clear days and blue skies and sunshine. Cold, but, you know, blue skies and sunshine. But since the 1st of September, it's just like we've had just cold, cloud, rain, miserable. So trying to eat, I think my little jabby thing might be a bit buggered, this one. It's not even hitting my finger. I'll try the other one. I don't know what these are called. Let's call them jabby things. So I hate doing this. All right, so that one got me. So the weather has been really bad, and so trying to get outside to eat has been a bit difficult. Last couple of days I've taken to putting a chair out. We've got a little porch that's under cover, and if the rain's not coming in that way, I can sit out there and have breakfast. So my blood glucose is 6.5 millimoles, which is quite high, and my ketones are 3.1, which is quite low. So that's about 2 hours after eating. I did have a turn the shower onto cold after I had my shower, because I've discovered in the last few days that helps. And just put them in the rubbish bin, because what happened was I've been monitoring my blood glucose and ketones really quite fastidiously, and I had taken them before I got in the shower, and then I took them after I got out of the shower. My blood glucose had shot up, and so I started digging into information online. And, you know, like when you look at the mainstream info, it'll tell you that your blood glucose, that it's a failure in people's CGMs, you know, that they just show a higher reading, even though it's not high, due to the heat and the steam, and then it goes back down again. But looking at, there was a Reddit thread, on a diabetes Reddit thread, and people were talking on there, and they were saying that they've tested to see whether it's their CGM by doing finger prick, and they confirm with their finger prick that their blood glucose has gone up after a hot shower, and that it comes down after cold. And so this is something that I've been questioning: is the cold therapy a good thing? Because you see so much conflicting information, you know, and like I was doing cold showers and even going into our swimming pool in the winter in the other house that we were in before carnivore, and I felt that it was a good thing for me. But then since I've been on this carnivore journey, you see people and they're like, oh, if you've got a thyroid issue, if you're a woman, you shouldn't be doing the cold therapy because it raises stress hormones and blah, blah, blah. But looking at what goes on with my blood glucose, I'm thinking that it probably would be a good thing. So I've started putting the shower onto cold again when I finish having my shower in the morning, the last probably 3 days. And because with that first day when I tested it and it had gone up, the next day I tested it after a cold shower, that's right, and it went down. So it had gone from, I think before my shower it was, so this is all millimoles, it was, I think it was 5.2 or 5.4 before my shower, and it went down to, no, it was 5.4 or 5.6, and it went down to 4.8 after my shower, and it was still there 45 minutes later. So that was quite a big drop after having my shower. So I thought, well, I'll keep doing that because obviously that helps to lower my blood glucose at least for a little while. And so I did that today, but then I've eaten just prior. So that's why my blood glucose is up where it is, I guess, 2 hours ago. So what else? My body is obviously just really good at making glucose out of the meat that I eat. So that's why I'm back eating in the morning, because we're more insulin sensitive in the morning. So, and I've noticed as well that I think I feel better if I eat in the morning. I feel calmer. So I think that's to do with that whole cortisol side of things. But anyway, so that's what I'm doing there. Now, the other thing that I'm doing at the moment is I've started taking copper. Now, I've just made a video about this, explaining the reasons why and what I'm doing, and I'll upload that today. But suffice it to say, I've stumbled across a guy named Morley Robbins probably about a year ago, listened to his info, bought his book, then kind of went, because I just, I'm not sure about copper. But now having the iron dysregulation, that's kind of made me think a little bit more about it. And I stumbled across some info with him again just recently. There's a lot of his interviews on YouTube. And so I've been listening again. And listening to, looking at the symptoms of lack of copper, like listening to him and then looking at information online. Now, my husband and I both have things going on that could very well be a lack of copper. And Morley's information, he's kind of a lone voice in the wilderness, but there are functional medicine practitioners that are implementing his information into their practices and seeing good results with their patients, and not seeing, people's zinc dropping dangerously low or anything like that. So I thought, well, we'll try it and see how we go. So I looked at his products. So he's got a range of supplements now, Morley, and the copper supplement that he sells contains copper bisglycinate. It contains spirulina, dried liver powder, curcumin, and boron. So it's got 5 ingredients in there. So I thought, well, I will somewhat try to mimic that. So I've got 2 milligram capsules of copper bisglycinate. I'll pop a link after I've finished the live. I'll pop links to some of the stuff below the video. So if you want to check out the things that I'm actually using, if this is of interest to you. So I've got 2 milligram capsules of copper bisglycinate, spirulina powder, which really tastes not great. I'd forgotten what spirulina tasted like. We use a milk frother to whiz it up in the glass. I may get capsules next time, or I may end up buying Morley's product. But spirulina, beef liver powder, and we already take boron off and on. So I make a boron tincture out of borax, with, I think it's a liter of water and a teaspoon of borax, dissolve it, and then use 1 teaspoon of that liquid in water 5 days a week. So we've been doing that off and on for quite a long time. I hadn't been doing it for a little bit, but we're back doing that again now to get boron. Curcumin is the only thing that I'm not taking out of that. And so what hubby and I both have noticed, we've been taking the spirulina and the beef liver and the boron. We were taking that for about 3 or 4 days before we started on the copper capsules, because they were coming from America. And so we were on those for about 4 days. Then the copper bisglycinate capsules arrived and we started taking those. Now, the first day after starting taking the copper bisglycinate, so I took it at nighttime, woke up in the morning, and both of us just felt like there was kind of more energy, something going on in our bodies. There was a change, a difference. Now, a few days later, what I began to notice, and I thought this wasn't something that I thought was going to happen. It was not the reason for taking the copper. I don't think I've mentioned this on any of my videos. So hubby and I both noticed our eyesight deteriorating, which for some people on carnivore, they don't. Their eyesight gets better, and we kind of thought that ours might. Now, 2 years ago, I went because I noticed that my eyesight was getting worse, and I was driving one day and could feel like pressure in this right eye. It just felt weird, and so I was comparing my right eye to my left eye while I was driving, and noticed that this eye was quite blurry. The vehicles coming towards me, it was like there was two of them, and I couldn't see the signs well with this eye. It was blurry. So I went and got my eyes tested, ended up with a pair of progressive glasses because I only had reading glasses before that, and so that's fine. But I've never been happy with these glasses anyway. I've never felt like they were right from the get-go. I had problem. There was a big drama when I got these glasses that I won't go into. But I feel like my eyesight has got worse. And the other thing specifically about my eyes that has got worse is this right eye. So when they did the testing, they told me that I had the beginnings of a cataract, just the beginnings. He didn't say which eye, and I didn't think to ask. But what I've noticed over the last 12 months or so is that this eye, the eyesight, was getting worse, and it had become blurry. So if I covered that eye and I looked out, it was like I was looking through a fog, right? And that was getting worse. It was like the fog was getting thicker, month by month. It was getting thicker quite fast. And at first I assumed that it was the cataract. But what I noticed as it got worse was when I was looking, the fog was in the center. If I looked around the periphery, my peripheral vision, it was clear around there. And the fogginess was just in the middle. And I thought, I don't know that cataracts do that. I think cataracts are generally all over the lens, the cloudiness. And I've never heard people talking about noticing the cloudiness from cataracts. Maybe it's just because it's one eye, I don't know. But like I know my parents have both had cataracts in one eye, and I've never heard them mention that they noticed a difference. It's like, yeah, I don't know. So anyway, that's all good. So I started taking the copper, and within a few days of taking the copper supplement, I kind of started to notice that this eyesight, the blurriness had changed. Now, when it was most noticeable was in the morning. So if I went outside in the morning to, watch the sunrise, out in the afternoon to watch the sun set, and that sort of light, it was quite noticeable. And if I covered this eye, it really looked like I was looking through quite a thick fog. And also if I'm sitting inside and the light is shining through the window, the sun, it's like it would get really glary, like if you're driving in fog and there's headlights and you get that kind of scattering of the light. And so starting on the supplements, I think I actually even noticed a difference before I started on the copper bisglycinate capsule from memory, just on the spirulina and the beef liver powder. I noticed a slight change in it, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm imagining this or not. And then, now it's improved by about 60. And that's in like, I don't know, 10 days, something like that. And so I looked to see if eyesight issues are a thing with copper deficiency, and they are. And that specific optic nerve damage that causes the blurring through the center of the vision is a copper thing. So I'm picking that maybe what's been on my eyes has been deficiency of copper. Now, this could be, I've spoken about this in the video that I'm going to upload later. This could be because we really don't eat much in the way of foods that contain a lot of copper. Your muscle meats and eggs contain a tiny bit, but not much. Oops, I'm knocking my camera. And we don't, like, we've tried to eat liver and we really don't like it. And hang on, I messed my camera up a little bit. I just kicked it with my foot. We don't generally eat it. And husband eats no seafood at all. I eat a little bit. I make myself have some sardines every now and then. But I've never eaten oysters. Oysters are probably the best seafood source of copper. Some people love them. I've never tried them. I don't think that I'd like them. I've never tried them. So we're not getting those high copper foods into us at all. And so this is one of the things I talk about in my video, is that as on the carnivore diet, we're kind of narrowing our food choices right down. And so if we're not eating any of those foods that are reasonably high in copper, then copper deficiency could become a thing. And so I kind of suspect that that's what's been going on with us. And the fact that we're both noticing improvement in the way we feel in our energy levels and that, I suspect that I might be on the right track with this. So yeah, I have discovered this week that I can eat cod livers. I bought a tin of cod livers and they sat in the fridge because I've been wanting to try them for ages, and I found some at the supermarket. They don't keep them on the shelf, they keep them in the fridge for some reason. So anyway, the tin sat in the fridge because it got put in the fridge because it was in the fridge at the supermarket. It got put in the fridge when we came home. And it sat there for a couple of weeks. And then I tried them the other day and I was surprised at how they tasted. Do you like cod liver? Anybody like cod liver that's on here? Great source of vitamin D, better than vitamin D supplements because they're in their own oil. And so cod liver oil is the original vitamin D supplement. That's one of the things Morley Robbins talks about, is he's not a fan of synthetic vitamin D, ascorbic acid, which is the synthetic vitamin C, or what's the other thing? Zinc. He's not a fan of people taking zinc either, just because he thinks it messes up people's copper levels. So yeah, so with me, with my ferritin being high, so obviously my iron was high, that could all be part of this copper dysregulation thing as well, and iron dysregulation. So yeah, I'll be talking more about this going forward because it's pretty interesting. And when I first mentioned Morley Robbins, after I first looked into his work and I put some info up on X, I got told that he's just crazy, he's got it all wrong, and copper's dangerous, and blah blah blah. But I actually suspect, like when you look at the mainstream info that's been out there forever and what most people believe about copper and how dangerous it supposedly is, I tend these days to think that that's been put out there for a reason. Like a lot of things, we've been lied to about so much, so many things, everything. And so, you've got doctors testing for iron and going, oh, you're anemic, you need an iron supplement, pumping iron into people through, ultra-processed foods and things, which causes oxidative stress and causes aging and causes all these diseases, and it builds up in the tissues. And if you haven't got enough copper, then you can have a blood test and the iron doesn't show up in your blood. They can say, oh, you're anemic, but you've got way too much iron stores in your tissues and your organs and your liver, in your brain, all these different places in your body, and high ferritin, and they're not paying any attention to that. So I am skeptical now I'm skeptical about a lot of things, but I'm skeptical about that kind of information that tells us that copper's dangerous. Same with retinol, the natural form of vitamin A. Morley talks about that as well. Synthetic vitamin A is a whole different thing, but the natural form of vitamin A that's in cod liver oil, for example, is something that we need. And so the fears around that, I think, may have been pushed by using those synthetic forms of vitamin A, because that's kind of what they tend to do. So anyway, watch out for that video about copper later, and I'll probably be posting more on there. So what else was I going to talk about today? So I've told you what I'm taking, the spirulina and the dried liver powder. And yeah, I'll see how I go with all of this. I may end up switching to Morley's product because it's got everything in there, and I've found that I can buy it here in New Zealand for about the same price as I'd be buying it from the States. So I can get it here, but it doesn't contain the boron, is the only thing. So I'm wondering if he's done a separate product for some countries like this that probably won't allow the boron to come in, or something stupid like that, because that's another thing that they try and suppress. So yeah. So yeah, as I said, I've been monitoring my blood glucose and ketones like a mad woman, and because ketones are the indication of where your insulin is. So if your ketones are up, it means your insulin's down, and if your ketones are down, it means your insulin's up. So that's why I didn't get my insulin test, because doing my ketones is a much more accurate indication of what's happening with my insulin. All right, so I've talked about this stuff. And the other things that I'm doing is trying to just get outside more. You know, I've been craving outside. Been craving it. Here in New Zealand, the weather gets so crappy in the winter. That's part of the problem. And we lived in Queensland and Australia for years, and I really miss it. So does my hubby. We do plan to go back eventually. But yeah, we miss that blue sky and sunshine every day and warm weather. And so here in New Zealand, we get these cloudy, yucky winters and cloudy, yucky spring. That's what we've got at the moment, just cloud and rain. And so I'm kind of craving getting outside. And so yeah, I'm sitting outside as much as I can to eat my meals, getting that sun in my eyes, trying to make sure that I stay out there for longer. I sat out there for longer this morning, ended up freezing. I had to come inside because it was too cold. But I was out there for probably over half an hour, 45 minutes, which I'm kind of trying to do in the mornings if I've got time to get that sun in my eyes, because that's what kind of triggers that circadian rhythm to help with insulin and leptin and all of those hormones that control our metabolism. So trying to make sure I do that. Part of my problem over the last years now, time goes so fast. 2008, we had this disaster business, which caused huge amounts of stress, and we basically ended up closing the doors of that business and walking, and all the money from our house and everything went into it. So that's why we find ourselves where we are now, pretty much with renting and stuff. And, you know, hubby had an accident years ago and hasn't been able to work for a long time. And so it's been me doing all of this. And then because I had, you know, years, almost 10 years, 8 years of really sick with mold illness and stuff, I'm only just kind of coming good now, but I've kept going through all of that. But just because I'm lucky, I know I find ways to manage things and to cope with things, and running my own business has helped because it's meant that I can adjust my days and my times to suit what's going on with me. But it's limited, you know, earning capacity and everything. So one of the things that I started doing, like when we closed the doors of that business, was doing things online. And I've done so many different things, you know, thinking, I'll you know, get income coming in to be able to, you know, help fund retirement and stuff and get us back in a better position. But it hasn't really happened because I kind of jumped from one thing to another, and just because my when I was sick, I think my brain wasn't working great, and so focusing on things was quite difficult. And yeah, there's just been so much going on, but finally am feeling better now. But I've spent far too many years sitting in front of a computer. So at the moment, while I'm sitting here talking to you, I've got two computer screens, one here and one here. I've got my laptop and my computer monitor here. And so sitting here bathed in blue light from those, and I've spent quite a lot of years, hours and hours at the computer every day. I mean, I used to do that for a job when I worked in offices, you're sitting at a computer. But since we've come back to New Zealand, it's been a lot too much time inside and not enough time outside. In Australia, at least, we used to go and walk on the beach every day. We used to be down the beach. And so it's been quite a different lifestyle here that has been part of the problem as well. So yeah, too many years sitting in front of computers, trying to, I don't know, do something. I will tell that story one day of our business. I'll do a video and upload it, because that was an interesting year that completely changed our life and our existence. But there's always good stuff that comes out of every adversity, and that's what I realise now. And this whole my health journey, everything's been this massive kind of learning curve. It's put us in a very different place mentally and with the things that we value, and that's still ongoing. So yeah, but basically, yeah, trying to, I mean, even my YouTube channel, I thought, okay, I'll build my YouTube channel and get some income coming in there. But it's fickle. Working online is fickle. You know, you've kind of got to be at it all the time. Otherwise, things start to decline again, unless you really get things going. It is a fickle thing, and it's hard, and you got to put a lot of hours in, a lot of hours sitting in front of a computer, editing videos and coming up with ideas and doing research and all the rest of it. So that's why of late I haven't been doing as much as I was, because I don't want to be spending all day sitting in front of a computer. The other thing that I've been doing is making jewelry, which is a hobby. And I thought, oh, well, I'll make jewelry and I'll sell it. And I'll set up an Etsy store and everything. But then I've realized that I don't want to make that a business either, because it's my hobby. And I don't want to have to be there being a production line. So that's changed. There's been a realization there for me just recently, which is a good thing, because I like doing the jewelry, and my automatic thing is I'll turn this into a business to make money, but that's not what I want to do. The one thing that I have been thinking about just recently, which has always been there, and I haven't really spoken about on this channel, is doTERRA essential oils. So I've used doTERRA oils for 9 years. They've been a part of my daily life, and they've been a massive support throughout this health journey. I've used them to help settle my belly, to help settle my mind, to help me with emotional stuff, pains. It's just, they've been there the whole time, and I've been using them the whole time. Prior to starting on this carnivore journey, when I first got involved with doTERRA, I was working on building a business, and I was doing okay. And then 2019, because of my health issues, because of the mold illness that I had, I was running out of energy. I just couldn't do everything. And so I took a break. I decided to take a break. So I built a small business with it. But I was running my clinic as well, and it was just all too much. And so I took a break, and then COVID happened. And so and then my health just kind of got worse, and then it became all about kind of fixing my health. And so I never got back to it. But I use these things every day, and I use them in amongst my carnivore lifestyle. And so I'm thinking that I might add that into what I do and show people how I use these oils in my lifestyle as a carnivore, because, there's this whole thing about plants are trying to kill you, but plants are medicine. Plants are medicine, and doTERRA's essential oils are the best on the planet. Like, I have dug into them enough, and into other companies, to know that they are the best oils. I mean, I'm sitting here, I've got peppermint oil on a tissue, which I have with me every day. I've got a roller of Intune, because that helps my brain to work. I've got a roller of lavender and spearmint, because that helps to be able to speak. And so, I used to use that when I was doing my classes, and now I keep it in front of my computer for when I'm doing things like this. And, they just help. And, if I'm having a day where my belly's a bit upset, or I'm feeling a bit anxious or whatever before clients, I will go into my clinic. This is quite common. I'll get a drop of peppermint, a drop of frankincense on my hand, and inhale it, put it all around my neck, put it through my hair. I will go, and if my belly's playing up, a drop of peppermint oil under my tongue really helps on my belly. It'll help. It's just, there's so many ways to use the oils. When I did the 3-day fast, not last week, the week before, I had this head pressure. It was a work day, and I had this head pressure. I don't normally get headaches, but it was just, and that made me realize I needed to start using castor oil again. And so I went down, there's a blend that they have that's for headaches and things. It's also good for pain. And so I put that on my head, and I don't like the smell of that one because it's so strong. I don't use it very often, but I put it on my head, and then I put peppermint oil over the top. Within about 5 minutes, that head pressure was gone, and it stayed gone for about 4 hours. When it came back, I did it again, it went away again. And so, just things like that. I mean, even on our carnivore diet, if everything's going perfectly, there's always stresses. There's other members of the family, children and things like that, and other people in the family that are having problems, injuries, sports injuries. If you hurt yourself at the gym or whatever, there's ways that these essential oils can help. So they are something that I'm going to incorporate into what I'm talking about on carnivore, on my YouTube channel, and because they're part of my life. And so I'm thinking I might dive back into that doTERRA business and try and build something there, because I don't ever want to live without them. And so if I've got something in my life that I personally don't ever want to be without, then I am more than happy to share that with anybody who wants to listen. And I know not everybody does, and some people go, yeah, but it's okay. I don't know why I've never really spoken about them. I think it was because they're plants, and the carnivore community are kind of often anti-plants, but as I said, they're medicine, and they are just so damned helpful, even for flavoring food, without fiber. I mean, you can use them to flavor things without fiber. So, hey. All right, so what else? The other thing that I was going to talk about was castor oil. That was one of the exciting things, is that doTERRA have just released castor oil in the US. So, and you can guarantee that their castor oil is going to be probably the best, most tested castor oil on the planet, because they've got the facilities to do all the testing to make sure it's pure and it doesn't contain anything it's not supposed to, etc., because they do that with their oils. They're tested in-house and externally, over 50 tests to make sure that they are what they're supposed to be and don't contain anything else. So you can guarantee that castor oil is the same. Now, the castor oil, I started using it again daily when I did the 3-day fast two weeks ago, because I got that head pressure. I thought, oh, my body's struggling to detox. And so I started using my castor oil pack at nighttime on my liver. Now, if you don't know what a castor oil pack is, it's made from fabric, and you put your castor oil on, and then you can put it on your liver, or you can put it on your belly, or anywhere on an injury. Castor oil is amazing for injuries. It's highly anti-inflammatory, and it gets the lymph flowing and the blood flowing, and just has all these amazing benefits. The first time I ever used it, I had injured something on my arm somewhere. I can't remember, a muscle. I can't remember where it was. And I thought, oh, I had some in the cupboard. I don't know why I bought it initially. I think initially to do castor oil packs on my liver. I never did it. And so I used this castor oil on my shoulder, and it wasn't even a very good quality one at that stage. And it made a massive difference. And I was like, whoa. So that was when I became a huge fan of castor oil. And so I've been using a castor oil pack on my liver off and on throughout this kind of journey. Had thought about using it, on my belly, and hadn't. But when I started using it on my liver a couple of weeks ago, I did that for a few days, and then I switched to using it on my belly. So it's still kind of going over my liver. And I put it on and I leave it on all night while I'm in bed. And I've been doing that every night. And the difference in my bowel, just the steadiness, has been just amazing. Even though my bowel's been so much better, I still have normally have been having days where it's a bit loose, and it's just, when it's like that, it just messes with my head, and I'm just uncertain. I don't trust my body, and so that causes me stress. But using the castor oil pack on my belly the last couple of weeks, every night, is just, I haven't had a day where it's been weird. And bowel motions are perfect and no problem. So I'm going to keep doing that. And then in the summer, if it gets too hot, I'll just put it on at night time for a few hours before I go to bed. But the other reason that I'm using it, so I'm using castor oil for that. The other thing that I'm using it for is to reduce the effects of scarring and adhesions. So this is something I've just been looking into recently as well. As happens, I follow my nose. I'm on YouTube looking at stuff, and I see something and I go, oh, that looks interesting, even though it's completely not what I was looking for. And it ends up being something that's relevant. This happens to me all the time. And I've learned to kind of trust it and go with things. And that happened with the copper thing. And it's happened with the adhesions and scarring thing. So something that I hadn't thought about. So with my bowel, if I don't know who's watching, so I don't know whether you've, my history, but I've had decades of IBS diarrhea. And my diarrhea was really bad for the first couple of years on carnivore, like really bad. And now it's a lot better. But if it's a little bit upset, so I don't very often get diarrhea at all anymore, but it might get a bit loose right up until I started using the castor oil. And when it's a bit loose, it's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like I don't trust it. And it still makes me panicky, and I've got to get to the toilet, if that makes sense. And now I'm wondering, after looking into information about scarring and adhesions, if it's something to do with that. I was looking into information about episiotomy scars, so from childbirth. And my first child, that's quite a big story about her birth. Wasn't good and didn't have an episiotomy, but was really torn. And so I've got a lot of scarring, and I hadn't actually thought about that. And I also have a scar from a very rough surgeon who did a tubal ligation on me years ago. And I also wonder if there's adhesions, because I don't know whether I had endometriosis, but I had pretty much all the symptoms of endo when I was young, premenopausal. So I'm wondering if there's adhesions in there, because that can cause scarring, all through small intestine, large intestine, and everything. So that could explain some things as well. It may be why the castor oil pack on my belly is helping and making such a big difference. So I'm using castor oil in other ways as well. So I'll be doing some video on that probably soon too, to break down that scar tissue, both internally and externally, and see if we can't get this completely sorted out, because I'm determined to get my body to a good state, the way that it should be, the way that I know that it can be. Just hasn't been that way for a bloody long time. But yeah, getting better and better by the day. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if there was anything else that I was going to talk about on here right now. So yeah, the belly scarring and adhesions was the last thing. So if nobody's got any comments or questions, I may sign off, and I'll go and I'll put those links that I said I would share underneath the video for anybody who wants those. Yeah, and if anybody at any time has any questions or comments regarding doTERRA, their essential oils, get in touch, and I'm happy to help in any way. I now am putting a link to doTERRA underneath all my videos, so if anybody wants to try any essential oils or buy any of their products, they have amazing products. They can do that, and that way you're supporting my channel as well. If you want to support me with what I'm doing, that's a great way. And yeah, that's about it for today. So I hope somebody's put a comment in here. Let's have a look. John Mitchell, thank you. Thank you for watching, John. And thanks for commenting. I'm hoping that the information that I'm sharing is helpful. My journey's been a long one, and yeah, there's still lots that probably needs to be uncovered, but God, I'm so much better than I was. I'm about 90, I reckon 96% of the way there now, which is super cool. There's just these few little things that are still not quite where they should be. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So I'm going to go and get on with my day. But as I said, I'll pop those links below the video. And then if you want to check any of those out, you can do. All right. So thank you very much for watching. And I will talk to you again another day. Bye.